for parents that are heading into a school year where there's a lot of unknowns, this school has been, they've proven to me their ability to switch gears when the unexpected happens in a way that still supports your children.
Hi, it's Brian Master once again for Our Kids Media. Pleased to welcome our guest today, Jennifer Sarah Tindale. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm well, Brian. Thank you.
Good, good. Now, you have two children that are attending Blyth Academy in Burlington. Let's talk a little bit about your kids. Are they going back to school this year?
Yes, both my children are returning to school this year.
And what grades are they going into?
They are going into grades 11 and 12, both daughters.
Cool. When did they start at the school?
Well, we've actually been at a couple of different Blyth locations. They've been at, last year was their first year at Blyth Burlington. Before that, they attended Blyth Waterloo campus.
Oh, cool. Quite a school. They've got quite a few campuses everywhere. And that campus in Burlington, the Village Square, is really cool.
It is, yeah. And that was part of the draw for the change. There's not really actually a Blyth location that is particularly close to where we live. We're sort of equidistant to the Waterloo campus and the Burlington campus. And my two children much prefer the sort of pedestrian village atmosphere of the Burlington campus versus the downtown location of the Waterloo campus.
Excellent. And what are some of their favorite subjects?
Well, my older one is going into grade 12. I would have to say her favorite subject is English. She's a lover of literature and writing. And of course, the younger daughter is the opposite. She loves, I would say math would be her favorite subject. Two very different girls.
Terrific. So what kind of students are they?
They are both straight A students. They're both elite athletes and also take their academics very seriously. And they both aspire to university educations, and one wants to be an equine vet and the other thinks she might want to be a sports physician. So, it's important to them that they not just get good marks, but actually understand what they're learning so that it's the platform off of which they can build in university.
Fabulous. Fabulous career path for both of them too. Very, very topical, very, very current. Day to day, what do they enjoy or what do they not enjoy?
Well, the older one who's finishing off grade 12 this year is an elite equestrian. She's ridden a couple of times on the junior team for Canada at Nations Cup and at sort of this big championship called Young Riders. So she trains 6 days a week and competes extensively, both in Canada and in the US. And the younger one, who is going into grade 11, is on the senior national team for gymnastics for Canada. And she trains about 30 hours a week for that. And she does some travel, not quite as much as the older one, but also has competition demands that sometimes interfere with school.
Wow, those are two very distinct and separate things, but a lot of work going into both, I'm sure. If you can, please, Jennifer, outline for me the process of choosing Blyth Academy and what drew you originally to the school, and what other schools did you consider, and what ultimately led you to choose Blyth?
We actually had been, prior to Blyth, we had been at a more traditional private school in the Waterloo area, which was excellent academically. What drew us to consider Blyth was we were looking for a little bit of a better balance and some additional flexibility to accommodate the elite athletics that both of our daughters are in, and found that at traditional private school, it was very challenging for them to accommodate their athletic demands and not feel guilty for not being sort of on the same program that all the other students were on. And it was, I think, a little bit difficult socially as well for them to adapt. So we're looking for a bit of a different option. I had a colleague who had attended a Blyth campus and got me onto the fact that Blyth divides their school year into 4 terms instead of 2. So 2 courses per term across 4 terms instead of the 2 traditional semesters. And I guess as a starting point, that was very appealing for us because our older daughter typically goes and competes down in Florida and lives down there between January and end of March every year. And so on the Blyth schedule, January to March is term 3. And so the Blyth opportunity allowed us for her to take her core courses, the sciences, the maths, and English, take her core courses in terms 1, 2, and 4, physically with a teacher at a physical campus. And then term 3, she could be in Florida where she needed to be, and we signed her up for a couple of online courses through Blyth. And so, you know, the setup of Blyth allowed that flexibility, which we ended up applying to our other daughter as well.
Excellent. How have the children responded to being at Blyth?
They both have loved Blyth Burlington. It's a very friendly atmosphere, and I guess, you know, it sounds kind of corny, but what they would both say is it's cool to be smart there. So if you're someone who really cares about your academics, you're not sort of the nerd of the class. It's actually common and embraced. You know, there's other kids like you who are sort of striving for that academic excellence, and they both found that there's a lot of good discussion and enthusiasm in the classroom. So.
And how is that translated to what they're like at home? Do you think the school actually played a role in how they behave at home?
Yeah. They're not home that much. They're busy kids. But listen, part of what I've struggled with in the past at other schools is the concept sometimes where the teachers, as they start to get behind, would start to send a lot of work home. And so I would have 2 kids who would arrive home, you know, evening time after their sports practices, and would have to start almost teaching themselves things through assigned projects and whatnot being done on the home front, as opposed to them being really covered properly in class. And so one of the big benefits I found at Blyth Burlington was that the teachers were really engaged and really made sure that they were covering the material well. And that is to an individual, recognizing that some kids struggle with different concepts, and that the work that was assigned at home, they definitely did do their fair share, especially with grade 12 courses on the home front. But those were more practicing what they had been taught, or providing opportunities for them to take it to you know, sort of a more in-depth level through an assignment or a project or the like. So as a parent, I found that I could just be the parent. I didn't have to also try to be a teacher, which is a great load off of a busy working parent's plate.
Absolutely. And what do you think your children like most about going to Blyth, if they had to pick one thing, each of them?
I would say my eldest would probably say she appreciates the backgrounds and professionalism of the teachers. So for example, in grade 12 English, she had a UK trained English teacher who had done his master's in English and had a very obvious passion for literature and writing. And his passion was almost contagious with her. I mean, she loves English to begin with, but he really pushed her to exceed even her own expectations. And so that sort of experience was probably the predominant positive. The younger one is a little bit more social, not so focused on a particular subject or thing. And she probably just liked the overall experience. She liked seeing her friends and moving from class to class and having a mix of experiences, I would say.
Interesting what you said about that teacher pushing your elder daughter. It's remarkable that some, not all, but some teachers have that ability to see a spark in a child and know it's going to be a little challenging for them, but push them nonetheless.
Yes, for sure. And you know what? I think that as a parent, those teachers communicated with us, and that particular teacher that I referenced for the grade 12 English, I mean, he went so far as to reach out to us and express a hope that she will pursue some English in her university education. Now, that's the one that wants to be an equine vet. So there's not going to be room for that many English classes, but he was trying to find a way to work that in. So that was good.
Maybe she'll write some books about horses. Who knows?
There's
So
always a way.
what do you as a parent personally appreciate and like most about Blyth Academy?
Personally, I'm not a huge marks parent. I'm not all that fussed about what marks they get. I mean, I obviously hope that they get good enough marks that they can get into the universities of their choice. But what's more fundamentally important to me is that they're actually learning and understanding what they're being taught, recognizing that they've got a lot further to go beyond high school. And so I guess my comfort with the thoroughness of the education and the quality of the education that they're getting has got to be at the top of the list for me.
Excellent. And what have you found most surprising about Blyth Academy now that you're a parent of a child there, or have been for a while?
Surprising, I guess probably the most surprising thing for me was the seamlessness with which Blyth Burlington transferred from a physical classroom environment to a virtual environment without missing a beat because of COVID. So our kids returned from March break, and on Monday morning at 8:30 a.m., they logged on to Zoom with their teachers, and I was skeptical because one or both of them was doing math, for example, and I was like, oh, how are they going to possibly teach math over Zoom? And I was surprised and incredibly impressed with what every single teacher, without exception, was able to pull off in the virtual environment. I mean, we could kind of eavesdrop on their classes, and they continued to pursue lessons, discussions, reading Shakespeare, class members reading Shakespeare over Zoom to each other with enthusiasm, tests, assignments, essays, you name it. So my husband and I were I guess that would have been the most pleasant surprise of the whole thing.
What would you say are Blyth Academy's values, Jennifer? Its values in actual practice?
I don't know what they advertise their values to be, but
what do you think they are?
Yeah, I think that they are. I think that they are embracing of a diversity of students. So they seem to have a compassion for individual students' needs. I think that they strive for academic excellence, and I think that one of the values of the campus and the school would have to be an inclusive culture. So a really warm, inclusive, compassionate culture. So I think it's a really safe, welcoming place for students to do their best.
Very pertinent right now, isn't it? That embracing other cultures. Now, can you describe for me, please, the typical family at Blyth Academy? What are their values? And if we were to generalize it, what do you think the values of other parents who have children at Blyth be?
That's probably the trickiest of the questions that you've asked me. I don't know a lot of the other parents, in the high school environment personally, because our kids are so busy outside of school. We're often literally picking them up and heading straight for a sports practice. So I'm not sure that I can give a very thorough answer on that. But like I say, my kids do say it's cool to be smart there. So I've got to believe that other families are supporting their kids, trying their best, and sort of taking their school day seriously enough. Yeah.
So the second part of that question was, how do the parents of different kids relate to one another? Is there much of a community? Would you like to answer that, or do you think that you wouldn't be able to give an opinion on that?
I probably couldn't do that question justice. I know there's some different programs within Blyth Burlington, for example, a sports program where kids get picked up and head off to practice hockey and whatnot. I've got to believe that the parents have some more community and involvement there. There are gatherings for things like information sessions and SAT preparation and that kind of thing. There have been some parent gatherings, but I can't say I can comment really on the parent community.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's move ahead then. And it's great to talk to you. You're quite erudite in your answers. It's really good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Jennifer, is there anything that your children have done at the school yet that you were particularly proud of, something either specific or general?
Hmm. Well, you know what? My eldest, referencing back to that grade 12 English that I mentioned earlier, really, I think, started to function akin to what I would expect a university level student to be doing. So not because the teacher demanded it, but she started to take so much pride in her work. She really pushed herself and stayed up quite late, a couple of nights. One night extremely late because she just was continuing to polish an essay that she wanted to do very well in. And they haven't announced the grade 12 awards yet, but I'm pretty sure she's a candidate for that. So super proud of her achievements in that last year. And in a different way, also proud of last year, my younger child got the citizenship award at Blyth Burlington. And knowing that they are operating in an environment as an example of how you should treat others with compassion and respect and that sort of thing. Small, but a good signal to get as a parent as two teenage daughters are growing up.
Every school has a weak point, almost by definition. So, Jennifer, what do you think the school is weakest in?
Nothing immediately jumps to mind. I mean, I guess the challenge for a smaller school like Blyth Burlington is getting a variety of course offerings, or all the possible course offerings that you could want, in a way that complements your particular child's schedule. So for a complicated family like ours, our daughters have competitive seasons where they're under more pressure in the athletic domain. And so I like to try and get some lighter courses at that time of year and heavier courses dealt with in other parts of the year. And not, sometimes all the things that they're interested in or that they would like to take aren't always offered every term. It's just sort of the reality of it. Sort of the only thing that I can really think of.
Fair enough. Now, tell me about your experience with both teachers and the administration at Blyth Academy. How's it been?
Teachers has been, I would say, across the board, excellent. I've had a variety of styles of teachers. Not everybody is cut from the same cloth, if you will, in terms of their presentation and style and level of experience. But what I would say is all of them have been professional. They prioritize their communication with parents. So you can easily have a feel, even if you aren't seeing them at pickup every day, you get regular feedback on what's going on in the classroom and how, in my case, my daughters are doing. And they also use a platform where I can check the status on a daily basis, if I want to, of all assignments and tests, results, upcoming things that are coming due. You can sort of look ahead and see the whole calendar as it's coming. And you know what, they have house teams that they divide the whole school into 4 teams, and a number of the teachers show enthusiasm for kids gathering up house points, whether that be through their participation in the classroom or their participation in some of the informal sporting outings that they have and little competitions amongst the teams and whatnot. So I would say, I always worry that it will be hard to keep these good teachers who seem to me almost overqualified for what they're doing in this high school environment. We've got people who have got PhDs in chemistry teaching chemistry. Similarly in mathematics, I just wonder if the school's able to keep them, but I'll tell you, while we've got them, it's been most excellent. As far as the administration goes, I had really extremely positive experience at Blyth Burlington with the guidance counselor there, who, my first experience with her was sitting down and going through my grade 12 students' desire to pursue an equine veterinary education. And she sat down and went through the undergrad requirements for her, all the prerequisites with me. And then when I mentioned that she might be interested in investigating Cornell University as an option, she actually said, well, I'll just call them and find out what their requirements are. And she did. And within 24 or 48 hours, I had feedback from her on her conversation with Cornell. So really has, takes some initiative on behalf of the students. And she was also involved in a couple of cases where one or both of my daughters had to be away on the day there was a test or something, and she helped facilitate reworking that so that they could complete it earlier or later as was needed. And the principal at Blyth Burlington has also been quite good. I dealt with him mostly on the front end of us coming into the school, but I've also dealt with him at different, maybe one or two other junctures where, we were rejigging some of the course load or whatnot, and he has been quite responsive. I was maybe a tiny bit concerned on the front end when we were talking about my younger daughter who trains every afternoon in gymnastics. The principal seemed a bit concerned if she was going to have to be leaving class early to get to gymnastics. And I was initially concerned that there may be a lack of flexibility or providing an opportunity for her to prove that she would never miss an assignment, never be late for anything, would always make up any missed work. But in time, I think that the principal proved that the school was supportive of exactly that. And I understand that, they're under a lot of scrutiny to make sure that kids are not taking the easy way out and are attending and getting the requisite number of hours and whatnot. I get it that these things get audited by the ministry and that sort of thing. So I think he was just being responsible. But I was hoping that that wasn't going to end up hurting her on the athletic side, and it all proved to be quite good.
Excellent. Now, can you describe for me, please, the experience of applying to the school, both for you and your child?
It's funny, that's not particularly bright in my memory because we were transferring from the Blyth Waterloo campus. I think our children already had a record that the Blyth Academy was familiar with their standards of performance and whatnot. So they probably had a recommendation coming from the prior principal. But I think we filled in most of our application process online. And then I followed up with an in-person visit to the campus at Blyth Burlington and a meeting with the principal, Ian Hughes, to sit down and go over our needs in terms of courses, as well as to go over some of the demands on these girls outside the classroom.
Excellent answer. Now we're getting close to the end, and just a few more questions, Jennifer. Quick question. Do you recommend that other families enroll their children at Blyth Academy in Burlington?
Absolutely would, without hesitation, recommend.
Excellent. Okay, so give me 3 reasons why, please.
I would say number 1 would be the quality of education. Number 2 would be an inviting and safe environment where each child can be their own person and achieve their own personal best. And number 3, I would say, I have to say, as a parent of 2 elite athletes, the accommodations that were made and the flexibility that was offered to allow them to be both high-performing students as well as high-performing athletes was a significant support offered to them in a situation that could have created stress, but instead created an opportunity to sort of thrive.
Excellent. And finally, outside of those 3 reasons, Jennifer, what would you say to a family considering the Blyth Academy in Burlington, for example, right now? What should they know?
I think that there is a commitment of the staff there to do what's best for the students. So I don't know when these interviews are going to be used by parents, but I would say for parents that are heading into a school year where there's a lot of unknowns, this school has been, they've proven to me their ability to switch gears when the unexpected happens in a way that still supports your children. And so, like I say, when we went into COVID, it was partway through term 3. Without missing a beat, without missing a single class, they shifted into a virtual environment. My daughters finished off term 3, and then we all wondered whether they would continue to start new courses in term 4 virtually. They did, which was particularly important for my grade 12 daughter. And they proceeded to both do 2 courses in term 4 in a very quality demanding way, not a shortcut kind of style. So if you're looking for particularly students who are heading off to university and you want to make sure that they've got that solid academic foundation, that would be top of mind for me if I was a parent thinking about Blyth Burlington, or Blyth Orbit for that matter, which is a new virtual platform that Blyth has launched.